It's the 18th of March. It's Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Oh, I don't have any. Okay. All right. Kamazahiris, okay. All right. That's on page 88. Okay, that's that. And oh yes, sirree, very good. Now we got our bearings in the Gemora. So step one, the Gemora wanted to know, why do we need to each person says two seemingly different claims. I found it, and it's all mine. Gemora answered that question and said, because if you would have only said, I found it, that would have been insufficient to award him any part of the talus, because we would have thought that that means that I saw it first, which doesn't afford any award whatsoever, because it's not an acquisition whatsoever. So therefore, the Mishnah taught, in addition to this that he said, I found it, it said, and he also has to say, and it's all mine. So like that, we understand that it came into his hands, because only when he picks it up in his hand is an actual acquisition. He has to make an acquisition on the talus from Hefker. Without making an acquisition on the talus, so he can make all the claims that he wants, but he's not going to receive anything whatsoever from the Bezdin with all of his claims. He has to make the correct claim that he claims that he made an acquisition of the talus in order to get any part of the talus. So that was step two. Step three that we went over at the end of yesterday's shir was when the Gemora says, Umi motzi samart, my mitzasiha re'isiya. Can you really say that that it says in the Mishnah that I found it means merely that I saw it first? You can't say that, says the Gemara. Because, why? Because according to Rabbi Noi, he interprets the pasuk in Parshas Kitzeitze, that when it says over there that you're supposed to return a lost article, Kein tas l'kol avedas achicha, so should you do to all of your friends' lost articles, asher tovad mimenu, that are lost from him, umatzasa, and they are found. And Rabbi Noi said over there that word umatzasa means the asa liode mashma. It means that it came into your hand. It came into your hand. Oh, here's Phil requesting entry. So now, before we go to the Gemora's answer over here, we're going to go to the Rashi, and Rashi is going to explain for us, presumably, why it is that Rabbi Noi holds that this word matzasa in the pasuk which corresponds to the word Metzia in the Mishnah, why that word cannot mean simply that he saw it, but it means that it came into his hand. Okay. So, good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
Okay, so we are ready to read the Rashi. Dibra maskil, umetzosa, the asa, liode mashma. About halfway down in the Rashis.
Matzasa day machma. When it finds, it means in his hand. It means it.
The asa liode that came into his hands. That's what's mashma by the word umetzosa that he found.
A filo hachi, even here. Achich is your brother,
right?
The low of koch, and it has to. It means even your brother means even in fellow yid. The low of it kochachim, and not a guy. The low, don't say he miat rachmana that it's a little bit that rachmana is talking about over chachayim, a little bit of goyim. Here, the low ata liyadei Yisrael, because it didn't come into a hand of Yisrael. Lo mechayev, he's not chayev. The mitzvah to be bothered on Allah. Adore. Your hand, mechayev, la abede, la avidito, because it's being lost, is forbidden, is usher. Hadar is to return it.
Well, Abedaso is his lost article. To Abedaso, that the lost article of his friend Surah is forbidden for the
because before the word is
friend to take it for himself. He cannot make an acquisition in a lost article.
He's not chayiv to return it, but he is chayiv return it, a lost article.
Let's see. 1 second. It's Rashi seems to be mixing in this outside point of a non-Jew as opposed to a Jew. It's making it a bit confusing and complicated. Okay, so Rabbanoi, the bottom line is Rabbanoi holds that from this pasuk, we see that the word umatzosa refers to an item that came into the person's hand, and that's important for us, because if so then when we use that word in our Mishnah, we should think that it means like it is learned in the Chumash, in the pasuk, just like in the Chumash. It means that it came into his hand. It doesn't simply mean that he found it first. It doesn't simply means that he saw it first. It means that he found it first, meaning it came into his hand. And so, if so, then this is going to take down the Gemora's answer that it answered. What do we need these two claims for? That's the bottom line in the Gemora. But Rashi is dealing with how it is that we see from this pasuk that in fact is what mitzvah means, that it came into his hand. So Rashi says over here, "Afilu hachi achicha v'lo ovid kochavim." And even all of this, notwithstanding, it means your brother as opposed to someone who's not. Because why? Where does it use where it uses the word achicha in the pasuk? Where's the word achicha? Not in this pasuk. Maybe in the pasuk before. We have to get a chumash. It's not sufficient to see just what it says in the Torah or over here. I think it must say achicha in the somewhere. Oh yeah, no. Sorry. I'm incorrect. It says achicha explicitly in this pasuk. Kain tasa lekol avedus achicha. Right? So you shall do to all of the lost items of your brother, meaning a fellow Jew. Asher tovad mimenu, that it's lost from him, umatzasa, and it's found. So we're saying that this word "and it's found" means it came into the hands of the one who finds it lost somewhere. But what's Rashi's issue over here? Afilu hachi achicha v'lo ovid kochavim. Even still, it's the in other words, this pasuk is telling that there's an obligation over here to return a lost item. And Rashi's pointing out that this obligation is for achicha, but not for someone who's not. Okay? V'lo tema, says Rashi, ki mi'et rachmona ovid kochavim heichadelo asli liyode. Don't say that the pasuk is simply coming to exclude someone who's not achicha, only in the event where it did not come into the hand of the Jew who finds it. Heichadelo asli liyode. But if it would come into the hand of the Jew who finds it, then even if it belongs to someone who's not achicha, you would have to. The Torah is telling you got to return it. You have to find out who the owner is, regardless of whether he's achicha or not, and you have to return it. Even if you would know for a fact it belongs to a non-Jew. How so? Yisrael lo mechayev lemitrach Allah uladura. Says Rashi, without qualification. No, because Yisrael is not obligated to put himself out in that way and return it. If it didn't come into his hand, he's not required. Aval osaliyadeh, then he would be obligated, lakzira, even to a non-Jew. Davidaso asura, because he can't keep it for himself. A lost item is provided we have no basis for assuming that the one who lost the item has given up on finding it. It's asur for the finder to keep it. Doesn't belong to him. Okay, so
I thought we learned in the laws of Shabbos Aveda that you're not obligated to return it to a non-Jew.
Yeah.
But this seems to be saying that if it's in your hand, you are obligated.
Okay, so on this, you have to read the first two words to the statement that Rashi's saying. Rashi's saying below tema, and don't say the following thing, right?
Oh, I see.
In other words, it's a bit complicated over here. Lo tema, don't say all the following. What's all the following? Ki miyet rachmana. In other words, when the Torah wrote the word achicha, there is a clear exclusion for someone who's not, right? That's a given. That's not up for discussion. But the question is, under what circumstances is this exclusion applicable? Is the exclusion applicable only in the event that the item did not come into the hands of the Jewish finder? Or because if so, then the only distinction, the only mute that the Torah is saying over here is that you're not obligated if you didn't pick it up to put yourself out and return it to a non-Jew. But the corollary of that would be that if you did pick it up, then you would be required to return it to even someone who is not achicha, because this achicha is only coming to exclude someone who is not achicha in the event that the finder did not pick it up yet. All he did was see it there on the ground. And on that, Rashi says, don't say all of this. Don't say all of that.
So in other words, don't say that I found it means I had it, I took it in my hand. Correct?
Well, we are saying saying positively that when it says matzasa in the pasuk, it means that it came into the hand. We're saying it came into the hand, but this is tricky over here. This is very tricky.
Yeah, I'm confused. Definitely.
See, there's four different possibilities over here, right? There are four possibilities which are divided into two. In other words, there's two variables. There's the variable of, is the item belonging to the lost item belongs to a non-Jew, the item belongs to achicha. Is the mitzvah for achicha or is the mitzvah for a non-Jew? Is the pasuk talking? Who's the pasuk talking to? That's one variable. Then the other variable is the pasuk telling me? The pasuk is telling me I got an obligation, right? That's what the pasuk is saying. Kain tasa lechamoro. So shall you do to his chamor. Kain tasa lesimlosoi, for his simla, for his donkey, for his garment. Kain tasa lekol avedis achicha. And so shall you do for all of the lost items of your brother. When it says an obligation over here that you should do, really, if we're taking all of this time to take a look at this pasuk, we really need to see where it is that it says explicitly that you have to return a lost item. All it says over here is, so shall you do. It sounds like it already told me in the previous pasuk that you got a mitzvah to return a lost item. I'd like to look this up in the Chumash and see where that pasuk is that tells me positively that you have to return a lost item. I don't see it so clearly from this pasuk.
Okay, well, it looks like it's Devarim 22:3.
Yeah, okay. Let's get it, Devarim.
I think we have to go back to 22:1.
Oh, yeah? Okay, that's what I figured.
You shall not see the ox of your brother or his lamb or kid cast off and hide yourself from them. You shall surely return them to your brother. That's one. Number two is if your brother is not near you and you do not know him, then you shall bring it inside your house, and it shall remain with you until your brother inquires about it. Then you shall return it to him. That's two. Now, three, so you shall do for his donkey, so you shall do for his garment, and so you shall do for any lost article of your brother that may become lost from him, and you find it. You cannot hide yourself. That's three.
Yeah,
I think
that's the pasuk.
number four is going to another topic.
Yeah, that's yeah. Right. That's Hakim talking. Right, that's a different. Okay, so we have three psukim over here discussing the mitzvah of returning a lost item, and we see that the first pasuk of these three tells us explicitly about the mitzvah to return a lost item. When it says in the first pasuk, at the end of the first pasuk, it says Hashev tashibem leachicha. You don't see what your lotira eshor achicha o eseyov nidachim v'hisalamta, and hide your eyes from this animal that the pasuk says belongs to your friend shor achicha, the animal of your brother. What should you do? Hashev teshibim lachicha. You should return it to your brother. So there you have explicitly the mitzvah to return a lost article, and it mentions in this pasuk 2 times achicha.
Right. And the Rashi doesn't clarify anything about our issue.
Okay, so when we our Gemora is discussing the word umatsasa in the third pasuk.
Right.
So over there, that pasuk says "V'kein tasa, and so shall you do." And that goes back up on the first pasuk that says what it was that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to return the lost item of your brother. Here it says "kein tasa." So should you do for his hamor and for his simla, his garment. V'kein tasa l'kol abedas achicha. And you should do this for any lost article of who? Achicha, of your brother. Asher tovad bimenu, it's lost from him. Umatzasa, and you find it. So now, this word umatzasa is not clear. What does it mean that you found it? does it mean that you see it there on the ground, or does it mean that you already picked it up in your hands? When is the obligation attached to return the lost item?
It would seem when you see it, based on the first pasuk, you shall not see the ox of your brother.
Okay. So if so, then why should we say that when it says over here, Metzosa refers to that only when it came into your hands? It's making it's making it difficult to understand how Metzosa means only when it comes into your hands.
I think it's a bit different. You should not see the ox of your brother or his sheep or goat cast off and hide yourself from them. So I see that's all together. So in other words, you can say it this way: if you see that that there's a lost thing of your brother, you don't hide. You don't say it's nothing to do with me. You are involved, and because you're involved, that means you've got to go and take it and return it, and that's when you return it. Once you can't return it just seeing it. You haven't even got hold of it. You have to get hold of it first in order to return it. So I think it means the first bit that means don't disassociate yourself from this mitzvah. You've got to do it. So go and get it and get that item and return it. Lay your hands on the item, and you can't call it your own. You can't claim it if you're going to return it.
Okay, so we saw what it says in the Chumash.
That's right. I'm looking in this Art Scroll Chumash here.
Now we have to understand what is the basis for Rabbanoi in our Gemora to say that this word of Metzosa means when it comes to your hand. I don't think you understand the point that I'm making over here. There's you're both saying that obviously the obligation has to attach already at the time that he sees it, and it can't. But if that's true, so then it's very difficult. Why we're saying the pasuk means matzasa? Why it means only at the point that it comes into your hand? What do you mean only at the point that it comes into your hand? We just got through saying that even when you see it, you already have an obligation to go and get it. So obviously, the only way to return something that you see is to go and get it. But we don't need the Torah to tell us that. That's self-evident and obvious. So it remains to me difficult how it is that we're understanding what Sosa means when it comes to the hand, and what the. So I'm going to read this Rashi over again.
Well, there's a long comment here that I think basically agrees with what Roy is saying. You want me to read it?
Just a minute.
Okay. Fine.
Before you do, if you don't mind, when it comes to your hand, you can see it and and ah about it, and it still hasn't come to your hand. Literally, you've seen it. That's all.
Yeah, but then you have to explain why. See, this is the question I'm asking. I don't think people understand what the question is. You're all saying that the obligation comes already at the time that you see it. So if so, you've made this word in the pasuk very difficult to understand. Why does it say umitzasa? Why and if you say, oh, it just means that you saw it, but that's not what the Gemora is saying over here right now. The Gemora is saying over here right now that the word matzasa means that it came into your hand.
Mhm.
All right, so let me read this footnote. This is footnote 15 on 2A2. Rabbani refers to the verse in Deuteronomy 23:3 that commands the return of lost objects to their owner. And so shall you do with regard to any lost object of your brother that might be lost from him and you find it. The Gemora in Bava 113b explains that the expression your brother limits the command of returning lost objects to those objects lost by your Jewish brethren, but there is no commandment to return the lost object of an idolater. The Gemora there considers the possibility that the limitation might be only in regard to retrieving and returning a lost object. That is, there is no obligation to go to the trouble of retrieving someone else's lost object unless that someone is a Jew. But once the finder has already gone through the trouble of retrieving the lost object, he might be commanded to return it to its original owner, even if the owner is an idolater. To this, Rabbani responds that the limitation is written in regard to a lost object that you find, which connotes that you have already taken it in hand. Even in that case, the command to return the object does not apply to the lost object of an idolater. Thus,
Okay.
Thus, we see that the expression find connotes physical possession of the lost object. How then can the Gemara above maintain that had the Mishnah stated only I found it, one might have said that the claimant means only that he saw it, but not that he took hold of it.
Mhm.
Okay, so the note is explaining very well that there. My question was, what do you need? How is it that mitzvah only means that it came into your hand? And the note is explaining. I'll tell you why. Because if it would not mean that it came into your hand, so then the exclusion of a non-Jew would only apply in the event that it didn't yet come into your hand. But if it did come into your hand, so then you'd have then there would, perhaps there's a mitzvah to return it to a non-Jew also if it came into your hand already. On that, Rav Vanoy is saying that's why it says matzasa. It says matzasa to tell me that even when it comes into there's no obligation to return it to someone who is not achicha. Whether you've just seen it, there's no obligation to return it to someone who is not achicha, and there's also no obligation even when it comes into your hand. There's still no obligation to return it to someone who's not achicha. The only obligation is achicha. When does that obligation apply? That's the truth is it's not maybe it's like you're saying that you already have an obligation. You can't bat a blind eye once you see it. But at this point, we at least understand why it says matzasa in this pasuk. It says matzasa in the pasuk to say there's no circumstance under which you're obligated to return a lost item to someone who's not achicha. You're never required to return it to someone who's not achicha. Even if it comes into your hand already, it's not any obligation to return to achicha. So that'll explain what's and therefore like that we're saying in the pasuk that matzasa means that it came into your hand. Okay.
Lost you. Hello?
Yes?
Okay.
All right. Oh, just a second here. Yeah, hi. I'm Baruch Hashem. How are you? Can I call you back in a few minutes?
Alan, are you coming today?
Yeah, I'm gonna come.
Okay, I'll see you at 4.
Okay.
Okay, so we still have 5 minutes. Okay, so let's see now we got the buildup of the question. Let's see what the Gemora's answer to this question is. Gemora is going to is because right now the Gemora is asking a question which refutes the answer that the Gemora gave. So presumably the Gemora is going to now attempt to destroy this challenge to its answer and reinstate its answer. So we're up to in.
2A2, left-hand column, last paragraph. The Gemara answers.
Yeah. Okay. Roy, you want to take it away?
In true. Umetsoso dikra da ta le mashame. The scriptural expression, and you find it, indeed connotes that it has come into his hand. Umihu, however, Tana Lishina de Alama Nakit, I might have thought that the Tana in this Mishnah followed the common usage of language. Umidazai Omar Ana Ashkahis. And in common usage, as soon as one sees the lost object, he says, I found it. But after I'll say the Yaday Bariya Ba'alama Kanei. As soon as he sees the lost object, he says, I found it. And therefore, I might have thought that even though it did not come into his hands, he acquires the lost object by the mere act of looking upon it. That's explained above. Kana kola shali. Therefore, the Mishnah states also the claim of it is all mine. Deviriya be'olama lo kanei lo. To teach, it is all mine. To teach that by the mere act of looking upon it, you cannot acquire it. But the Gemara still asks another question. I don't know do you want me to go further? I'll say this bit too. Belisane kula shali. Accordingly, let the Mishnah state only the claim of it is all mine. And it would not need to state also the claim, I found it. So the Gemara has to give another answer, give an answer to that.
Okay, the Gemora's answer, let's just say Chazer over the Gemora's answer. The Gemora's answer was, you're right. Rabbanoi is absolutely correct. That's why the Torah said that word matzasa, and over there the word matzasa means like Rabbanoi says, because that's the drasha, that even if it came into the hands of the Jewish finder, he's still not obligated to return it only to a Jewish loser. but not to one who's not achicha. That's certainly what it means in the pasuk. The Gemora agrees to that. However, the Gemora is saying that that doesn't obligate the Tana of the Mishnah to, when he uses the word ani matzasiha, that he means it the same way that the pasuk is using the word matzasa. When in the Mishnah, we're explaining that one could think that it means simply that I saw it, and therefore that's why we need the second claim of kulu shli, and it belongs to me entirely, meaning that I didn't just see it, I picked it up first. Okay, so that's the answer. So then, okay. There's another part over here. I'm not sure. We'll get to that tomorrow.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, all the best, everybody. Have a great day.
All right. You too, be well. Thank you. See you later, tomorrow.
Okay, have a good day.
Amen.
Take care.